Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're diving straight into a fascinating breakdown of workplace culture. And specifically, we're looking at how we communicate, or, how we don't. A lot of us tend to think of silence as this safe harbor, right? Like if I don't say anything, I can't do any harm. But here is the massive paradigm shift we're going to unpack for you today. In the workplace, staying silent is literally never a neutral choice. It's an active decision.
To kick things off, let's look at this quote from leadership author Ken Blanchard, because he really just hits the nail on the head here. He says, "Feedback is the nourishment of learning. Without it, people grow in a void or stop growing altogether." Nourishment. It's such a great word for this. Think about it. We would never expect a houseplant to thrive without water, right? Absolutely not. Yet somehow, we routinely expect professionals to just magically thrive without any feedback.
And honestly, you might be wondering, just how big is this void? Well, brace yourself because this reality is a little stark. 48%. Nearly half of all professionals out there receive feedback maybe once or twice a year. Imagine that. They're pouring their time and energy into their jobs for months on end, completely in the dark, just guessing if what they're actually doing is working.
So what actually happens in that dark void of silence? Look, the human brain absolutely hates ambiguity. It despises it. When information is missing, our natural negativity bias goes into overdrive to fill in the blanks. By keeping silent, you're inadvertently setting off this really dangerous chain reaction. We're talking an erosion of self-confidence, fading motivation, total stagnation, emotional disengagement, and eventually the complete deterioration of your working relationships. It turns out silence doesn't keep the peace, it actually slowly destroys it.
Okay, so this brings us to an absolutely crucial shift in how we think. We have got to leave behind this outdated idea of feedback as control and fully embrace feedback as investment. See, control just looks backward to correct past behavior, right? And that instantly generates defensiveness because it basically shouts, "Hey, you got it wrong." But investment looks forward. It actively guides future performance and it creates openness because it quietly says, "Hey, I am paying attention to you and I genuinely care."
Now, if we're gonna invest properly, we need the right tools for the job. And we actually have 4 distinct types of feedback at our disposal here. First up is recognition. Basically, I see what you've done and it really matters. Then there's direction. Here's a clear path for growth. Third is correction. Okay, this specific behavior needs to change. And lastly, reflection, asking, what have you learned yourself? Understanding these 4 options means you can be incredibly precise about what your team member actually needs in that exact moment.
Zooming out a bit, building this kind of larger feedback culture rests on 2 core pillars. We call them plus being and plus US. Plus being basically means that the absolute best feedback isn't some rigidly structured corporate script. It's just about being present. It comes from genuine care. And plus US, that reminds us that feedback is completely relational. If you have a high-trust foundation, man, even the toughest correction feels like a gift. But if you just drop critical feedback without building that trust first, yeah, that's not feedback. That is just flexing authority.
Oh, and the science behind all this? It is absolutely fascinating. We're not just talking about abstract, warm and fuzzy feelings here. We are talking hard neurobiology. Giving someone genuine recognition acts as literal biological nourishment for the brain. Intentional feedback physically activates the dopaminergic reward system. It literally releases oxytocin and strengthens the neural circuits tied to positive behavior. You're out there actually creating positive chemistry in someone's brain.
And let me tell you, when you create that positive chemistry consistently, the results are just staggering. Look at this number, 80%. 80% of professionals say they feel fully engaged in their work when they get this kind of meaningful feedback on a weekly basis. Contrast that with the folks we mentioned earlier, who hear from their boss maybe once a year. It's a real game changer. Consistent, disciplined feedback is the secret sauce that takes a culture from just merely surviving to truly thriving.
What's really wild is how comprehensive this is. Effective feedback nourishes us holistically across 4 different energies. Mentally, it gives us clear cognitive guidance. Emotionally, it brings those defensive walls right down. Physically, and this blew my mind, it actually lowers cortisol levels, which cuts down on the physical fatigue of feeling unappreciated. And spiritually, just being seen and recognized really nurtures that deep, essential sense of meaning in what we do every day.
Now let's turn the mirror around for a quick second, because you absolutely cannot build this culture if you, as a leader, don't know how to receive feedback yourself. Your team is constantly watching how you react, so to make it safe for them to speak up, you've got to model these 4 non-defensive steps. 1. Listen without getting defensive. 2. Thank them before you react. 3. Ask questions to deeply understand. And 4, actually act on the feedback and communicate that change back to them.
Bringing it all together, remember this one key thing. Feedback doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to call a massive emergency meeting. You certainly don't need complex HR templates. Honestly, just a 2-minute conversation, a highly specific observation, or a simple, genuine, "I saw what you did," delivered with care, that has infinitely more impact than some sterile, check-the-box annual review. Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. Since we know for sure that withholding feedback silently communicates you are not a priority, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question. Think about your own team right now. Who are you choosing not to invest in with your silence today? It's powerful, right? Go ahead and break that silence. Give the gift of feedback and just watch your people grow. Thanks so much for joining me, and I really hope this totally changes how you approach your everyday conversations.